Hi boys and girls, thanks for tuning into the podcast. During the recording of episode 9, we heard the very sad news of the death of Walter Smith, and it's with a mark of respect that I have to say a few words of condolences to all of Walter's family, all of his loved ones. I knew Walter at various events. I spent a lot of time chatting to him at various dinners, and I've got to say he was a very, very decent guy, very warm guy. I know he was a Ranger, and we had friendly banter, but he was a thoroughly decent man, and he'll be sadly missed. So out of respect, we just wanted to pay our condolences.
I agree with everything you've said there, Tommy. He was anytime I ever spoke to him, we had a laugh, and he's up there with maybe being the greatest Rangers manager ever. So a very sad day.
You'll be missed, Walter. Hi guys and girls, welcome to episode 9 of the Celtic Minded podcast. I'm Frank and he's Tommy. We've both got big smiles on our faces today because we're on the back of an excellent run for the boys. We now have 4 on the spin, 3 of them clean sheets, which is fantastic. And we've also got interesting attire today. I've got to say, Frank, fantastic to see you in the jersey. The last jersey that you would have worn for Glasgow Celtic, just so everybody doesn't pop in and say, oh, that's not a real jersey, that's not the one, it would have looked different. We know it's a replica, okay, so cool your jets. But that's the last jersey you played and you scored the winning goal.
It was a magical day, and then the Monday was not a magical day because I get sacked on a Monday. Well,
there you go. See, any of you out there that are thinking that you've got problems in your life and things aren't going too well, try and put things into perspective. There's Frankie boy, scores the winner for the Glasgow Celtic in the 100th Scottish Cup final, wins the cup for Celtic, probably saves Davy Hayes' job, happiest day of your life. 3 days later he gets sacked. So these things happen.
Can I tell you, after the game, Tommy, all the wives cuddled me and kissed me and said, thanks, Frank. Because at that time...
And it wasn't because of your looks.
It wasn't because of my looks. It was because they were all going a good holiday. At that time, we had to win a trophy to get a good holiday at the end of the season. And that's why they all kissed and cuddled me.
Marvellous. And of course, I'll get some other Celtic fans, the pernickety ones among you, who'll say, come on, Tommy, Bruni doesn't play with Celtic anymore. Why are you wearing a Bruni t-shirt? Well, the reason I'm wearing a Bruni t-shirt should be obvious to most of you. First and foremost, because he's a legend and he deserves to be remembered as the Celtic legend that he is and always will be. And secondly, maybe most importantly, because I hope he has a great game tomorrow night. He had some fantastic games in the hoops at the home of the Rangers. He's going back tomorrow night, and let's hope he has another great game and maybe Aberdeen take some points off the team that are sitting top of the table just now, Frank, but only by 4 points. And the difference this season for last is we are putting pressure on them all the time. We had the game on the Saturday, they had the game on the Sunday. We won convincingly on the Saturday. I thought it was a very competent performance. And as I sat there watching the game, Frank, compared to the earlier games in the season, I've got to say, I never thought we were going to lose a goal, and I never thought we were going to lose the match.
Yeah, that's very important. It's great Celtic have got full points for the games, and they've not lost any goals in the last 3 games.
Last 3.
And that is very good. I think the defenders are getting a wee bit more confident because of that, and that's a big help as well. So the more we can go without losing any goals, the better that will be for Celtic, because Rangers won the league last year and they only lost 5 goals the whole season, That was amazing for them to do that. Now we need Celtic. They're not scoring maybe as many goals as we thought they would. I thought Celtic would have won the game 4 or 5-0 at the weekend because Livingston, St Johnstone let in 3 goals against Livingston, and Livingston never scored 3 goals. And I thought Celtic playing at home maybe would have won 4 or 5, but 2-0 I would have taken all day.
It's a fair point, Frank, because we had 79% possession. 79%. I mean, personally, I was so glad that we beat St Johnstone on Saturday. Not because I've got any particularly big problem with St Johnstone as a team and a club. They were Scotland's most successful team last season. Amazing. Won 2 cups, absolutely fantastic. But they came to Parkhead and they camped in. The performances like that, in my opinion, would get football stoked. A lot of people wouldn't open their back curtains to watch a game like that, where you just camp in. They weren't interested in trying to break Celtic down. They weren't interested in trying to score. It was simply camping in. Now, some St Johnstone fans will say, well, that's what you would do if you were playing Barcelona or Real Madrid, and maybe they've got a point. But even if we were playing Barcelona and Real Madrid, we would still, I think, try harder in the attacking zones, and we would try and get into the final third. I thought St Johnstone just completely camped in the final third, and we had 79% possession, 20 shots, unfortunately only 5 of them on target. St Johnstone, however, were woeful, absolutely woeful. For me, the big plus, I don't know if you would agree with me, Frank, but big Giakoumakis, or as I call him, the big Greek, had his first start and scored a goal. But what I loved about his play, and I'm sure you would have appreciated this, was his chasing back, his tackling, making runs all of the time. He is not a lazy forward, that's for sure. He's somebody that's going to put in a shift.
That's very important for me. I always remember running back and tackling a player in front of the Jungle, and they gave me a cheer. I thought I just scored a goal, and they gave me a cheer for doing that. So the Jungle loved that when I played. They loved guys giving 100%, and you know, you could have a bad game, but see if you were giving 100%, the Jungle would be like, ah, it's fine, he'll play well in the next game. And that's what I had to play under. You know, the Celtic fans are brilliant, and there's some guys brilliant to you. And I remember I was having a poor game one day, and I was running up the wing, and the guy said, come on Frankie boy, show some magic, and his pal said, I fucking disappear. So, you know, the two sides come out, but it's great because I took in the second one there, and I had a good game that day because the guy let me know that I wasn't playing well.
Well, the big plus for me, Frank, as a Celtic supporter, particularly given Ange and the rebuild that he's going through, and most Celtic fans have argued for time, give him time. And I've got to put my hand up and say I was impatient. We've had a couple of discussions about this, and I was impatient about the style, and I was impatient about some of the players and that were getting played and some of the players that weren't getting played. But the truth is, mate, I've got to put my hand up and say, listen, Ange knows what he's doing. He's clearly got the bit between his teeth about knowing his style of football and what players can adapt to that style of football, because that Aberdeen victory just before the international break has now set us up in a run. We look much more solid. We're playing really, I think, good football. I saw at the weekend that even your old pal Charlie Nicholas was back at the games, and he's in the papers today saying that he's now convinced that Ange is on the right track, which is good.
I'm very surprised to hear Charlie. Was he invited by the directors?
No, apparently he was there with his family. He was just sitting with the fans with his family, which is good. However, I think we've got to take some time to give credit to Big Joe Hart. I think he's been immense at the back. He's given a bit of confidence. You can tell now when it comes to dead ball situations, corners, free kicks, he seems to be organising his defence better. And we're going to have to say that Big Starfelt has improved. His tackling, his aerial battles, he's definitely improved. Maybe the odd wee lapse here and there. We still know maybe getting 100% concentration, But he has improved, and maybe he's beginning to show why he's a Swedish international and why we spent quite a bit of money on him. And big Cameron Vickers, I'm a fan. I love the big fella. I love the way he gets steamed in. But he also tries. I mean, sometimes fans get groan because he makes passes that get intercepted. But usually it's because he's making a pass that's the more difficult one. It's easy to go side to side. We all played football. You know the side to side football is the easy one. But making the pass that's trying to break a line, that's the hard one. And he tries it, and sometimes it comes off.
I know. I think Celtic, some of their passes this year, Kyogo's pass that time, one of the games, he bent it outside his right foot, that one last week. I think I watched a lot of the highlights of Scottish football at the weekend, and I have to say that some of the goals scored in Scotland this weekend were outstanding. I couldn't believe some of the goals, better than any of the goals I've seen in the English Premier League, and that I thought that was good for Scottish football to see the kind of goals getting scored at the weekend, and I was very pleased to see that.
Well, the other plus for me, Frank, was the return of Juranovic, Croatian international fullback, and we know his natural position's right back. He played left back on Saturday. I think it's only a matter of time that he moves to his natural right back. I don't know whether we've heard a lot. Ange is thinking about buying another forward in January. I just wonder whether he's also thinking about buying another left back in January, because he doesn't seem to be yet convinced about Scales. I don't know whether Montgomery. I don't think he's quite the finished product. Bolingoli had a reasonable game against Motherwell. I'm not going to slate him. I don't fancy him that much, but he was all right against Motherwell. But if we can get the balance at the fullbacks, Juranovic to me looks class. I mean, he looks the part. I thought the way he dispatched the penalty on Saturday was absolutely immense. Not totally and utterly cool, fantastic, and he had a reasonable game. But where I think we're really beginning to tick, Frank, is we're from that final third. We're offering a threat now, and big Giacomakis' goal. I saw Aieti playing Dundee United and have about 3 or 4 chances like that he didn't score. Giacomakis gets one and he scores.
Well, it was very good for him to get a goal early on, because if he never scored, then there's more pressure on him in the second game. I was lucky when I came up. You know, I was signed for a record fee, Scottish record fee, come up to Liverpool to Celtic. I was under some pressure. I was trying to move house, do this, do that, and going about. And then I had a football game, and the fans were expecting a lot of me. And I played very poorly in my first game when I came back for Celtic, and right away was under pressure. And then I scored a goal against Hibs in the second, and that took the pressure off me, because I was moving, and it's very hard to settle in. So he's got a goal, and that settles him in beautifully. Now I think we've got a good wee forward line, Giacomakis and Kyogo. I think that's ideal, a tall guy. But the two of them, what I love about the two of them is they give 100%. They're chasing guys back, and sometimes chasing that guy back, get the ball off him, and making a wee attack can get you a goal. So that will happen one of the games. But Kyogo and Giacomakis, their work rate, brilliant, and that's what I love to see.
Football's all about opinions, Frank, and you and I agree with a lot of things. Sometimes we disagree, and obviously, you couldn't have a podcast and not have a bit of a discussion about opinions in relation to Kyogo and Giacomakis, because I want to see both of them playing in the same team. But I don't want to see Kyogo wide. I don't think you get the same out of him wide. I think Jota is brilliant wide. I think Abada, Forrest, Johnson, there's 3 other options for the other wide position. Kyogo, to me, he's a fantastic player, but he's just not as good wide. In fact, on Saturday, the small time of the game that he got through the middle is when we get the penalty, because he's going through the middle and he forces defenders to do things.
For once, I completely agree with you. He is a centre forward, and what I love is his reruns. He keeps himself one side with fullbacks and other players, and then when the ball's hit, he makes that run in, and defenders cannot do anything about that. I've done that all the time, and the amount of goals I scored and made for other people was incredible, that I could make that run, stay on side with using the fullback. I used the fullback, stay on side with the fullback. As soon as Danny McGrain would hit the ball in behind the fullback, I was in and I was on side. Once you're in behind a defence, that defence is in trouble, and Kyogo makes the runs brilliantly. And if you've got a big centre forward there as well, he's got to be marked. So it gives Kyogo more room to get in behind defences, and that no defence can really do anything about that. I played against Dundee United and Aberdeen, who had the best defences in Europe at the time, and I scored continually against the two teams by using that run.
You and I disagree on formations, because you want a 4-4-2.
4-3-3, sorry.
Sorry, you want a 4-3-3?
Yeah, I want three up front. Okay. You've got to give 4 defenders to defend the guys. You've got a man spare on the park, so why not?
Right, okay. I, on the other hand, I want a 3-5-2. I'd rather see my two wide guys, who either Jota definitely, Forrest, or Johnson, or Abada, but those are my two wide guys.
Can I ask you something? Is Forrest available now?
We're told that he's back training with the full team, so we'll probably see him on the bench, maybe even tomorrow night. So that's, for me, that's positive news. But I know, I mean, Ange knows what he's doing. Of course he does, because that's why we've won the last 4 games, and I'm over him, and I'll go whatever he puts out there. But I'd love to see, it might not work, so that's why I'd like to see it try. I'd like to see Giamakis and Kyogo down the middle together.
I think that would be brilliant.
However, tomorrow night, Frank, big opportunity for Ange, I think. In some respects, it's a bit of a landmark game, because imagine we go to Easter Road tomorrow night and we win, right? Not only is it another away victory, but more significantly, it'll be the first Celtic victory at Easter Road for 7 seasons.
You're joking?
7 seasons. We've not won in the league.
I can't believe that.
We've not won for 7 seasons. They became our bogey team. I remember when Lennon was the manager at Hibs, I kept thinking, he knows how we play, and that's how we're not getting results there. But even when Lennon went, it was draws, and Brendan never got a win in all his time.
That's incredible.
So it's 7 seasons since we won at Easter Road.
How many games is that? 28?
I'm not sure, Frank. But
28 games?
What I would say is, no, it wouldn't be as many as that. Because
well, 7 4s is 28.
I know, but
I know my arithmetic.
I know, but you're good with arithmetic. I appreciate that. But in order to get the right answer, you need to pin the right figures, right? Because you don't play a team 4 times in the season at their park. You would only ever play them 2 times.
I thought it was cup games.
No. So 7 2s would be 14. So it'll be 14 at most. But anyway, 7 seasons. If Big Ange can pull off a victory tomorrow night, not only does it give us 5 games on the trot with victories, but it gives us a monkey off the back of not having been able to beat Hibs at Easter Road, and it's Ange that's done it, and I just think it would be a great turning point.
I think so. I think Celtic are getting more. What I like about it, they're getting more confident, and it's going to take, it's not going to happen overnight. It'll probably take Ange at least 2 years to get the team that he wants. I remember Dundee United and Aberdeen in the late 70s and early 80s building a team. They weren't great then, but they were building a team. It was the same team every week, the same defenders. At Aberdeen, Dundee United, you were playing all the time. And it takes a long time for everybody to get to know each other and then become a team. So I would give Ange still another 2 years to get his defence right, to get the whole team. The whole team is starting to come together, and I think the football that they're playing is very enjoyable.
Well, Frank, we've got Hibs tomorrow night. I think it's a winnable game. It'll be difficult, but Hibs are going through a bad patch just now. I like Jack Ross. I think he's a really decent manager, decent person. but they're going through a rough patch. I hope we can take advantage of that. That then sets us up for Livingston at home on Saturday. Again, I think they'll come and they'll sit in. We're going to have to break them down.
I think they've scored 6 goals in the last 2 games, Tommy.
They have done, which is quite remarkable, because up until then they hadn't been scoring. They'd been the lowest scorers in the league.
So you're saying that they probably sit in, and you're probably right. But if they're scoring goals, why no go at Celtic?
Listen, I agree with you, and I wish and I hope they do that, because I think we are such an attacking force now that when we get teams that come and have a go, it will leave openings at the back, and I think we've got pace now in abundance, and I think we'll score more goals. You talked about earlier there about us not scoring as many goals as we had at the start of the season. I think that was because teams were coming and they weren't sure about the formations. Maybe they would have been a wee bit more offensive. We scored 6 twice in a row. We've not quite hit those heights yet, although we're still creating chances. We could still score 6 goals. But we've got Livingston on the Saturday. Then we've got Ferencváros away in Budapest, which will determine whether we advance in Europe or not. It's a winnable game. And then we've got Dundee away, 7th of November. Those are all winnable games, Frank. And do you know what? If we could go in that wee run, I think it sets us up for getting into November, December as serious title challengers.
Oh, I don't think Rangers are. I watched the Rangers game at the weekend. St Mirren were by far the better team in the first 25 minutes. But what upset me about that game was when the referee gave a penalty to Rangers, he had a big grin in his face, and when Rangers scored the penalty, the grin got even larger. I was quite upset about that.
Are you saying there's conspiracies?
I never said anything. I said I was upset. That's all I'm saying.
Well, let's be honest, but I want to go into some personal questions to you, Frank, but I think it's not a decent podcast if you don't have a wee dig at the referees.
No, that's the. I don't have a dig at any referees because.
No, I do. I do. And by the way, I've recently done the referees course, so I'm now one of the referees, right? So I need to defend them in some respect. But I can also highlight what I think are poor decisions. And I thought the decision in relation to Chris Kane on Saturday at Parkhead was wrong. I thought Chris Kane deserved a red card. I think he was violent. He raised his fist. He pushed it against Cameron Carter-Vickers' face, grabbed his throat. He also kicked him when he was down in the ground. There was no justification for it. So I thought that was a poor decision. I thought the referee should have sent him off. And obviously there's been pictures since in relation to the St Mirren game, and it is becoming a wee bit of a regular occurrence that the Rangers are getting penalties every game.
All I would like to say, I wouldn't like to see that refereeing a Celtic Rangers game. I've just seen these things, and every picture tells a story, and I said that's not right.
That's controversial, Frank.
I know.
It's not like you to be controversial.
No, I don't. I'm just telling you what I've seen. That's all.
Okay.
I'm not saying anybody's bad, or that shouldn't happen, or that should happen. Every picture tells a story.
It was like the Aribo tackle last week, the straight-legged tackle that didn't even get a foul, never mind a red card. I think they're called honest mistakes.
Oh.
However, Frank, let's get on to you, mate, because I have compiled some questions that I think are important in terms of the podcast, because sometimes I feel that I don't take enough advantage of the fact that you're an out-and-out legend, mate. 113 goals for Celtic over 5 seasons, a legend with St Mirren as well, signed also for Liverpool, won every league championship medal in Scotland, something no other player in Scotland has done. So as a youngster, who would you say was the biggest influence on your budding career to become a player? Who was it that inspired you? First of all, off the pitch, like who did you look up to as a player and say, I want to be like him? And who was it that encouraged you most as a kid to actually stick in at football?
Well, I was brought up in Easter House, and if you wanted to play football in planet Earth, The places you wanted to play football was Drumchapel, Castlemilk, Milton and Easterhouse. Every single football park, every single day, people were playing football. So I couldn't have been brought up in better places to play football because we just played football every single day. And no, I hadn't one boring moment in my life because of that. And that was great for me. My father, he was an electrician working for the Glasgow District Council on the lighting, and he hated football. So he did.
Seriously, I didn't know that.
He didn't want to play football, and that was good for me because I seen other fathers putting pressure on their kids to play well and all that. I went and played and enjoyed myself. So I think I just enjoyed playing football. I never ever thought that I would be a football player. I just loved playing football.
Who was your first team with a boys' club? Who did you play with?
I played for the school, the school team, and I remember my first game was at Spittal, and I love trains, and I was brought off that game for looking at the trains go by. So my first game, I was substituted. I was a train spotter, and I was looking, and the manager said, "I've got to take you off, Frank. You're looking at the trains when we're trying to win a game." I said, "I'm sorry," and I walked off.
What school was it?
I played for St Clair's in Easterhouse, and we had a fantastic time, a really fantastic time playing football. Every morning we would run up at 9:15 and get a wee game before we went in, and then we'd run down at play time, and then go home, get your lunch quick and come back up, get another game of football, and then at 10 to 4 get another game. My mother, she always says to me, she said, "You were great to bring up. All I had to do was feed you and put you to bed."
Great. And so you get to the age of 14, 15, who did you start to play with then?
I was just playing, I always played a year above myself. So if I was 13, I would play under 15 football.
Very good. Okay.
And I was always smaller than everybody else and skinnier than everybody else. So I hadn't fully developed. And then we moved house up to Balornock East, I have to say, and my cousin Tommy Hanna got me into a team called Colston, and there was a guy there, Ian French, and after a year I was there with him, I was about 15 or 16, he said, "Frank," he said, "you're going to play football."
Right.
I said...
Sorry, it's the live podcast, I forgot to take the phone off, so there you go, put it off now.
What was I saying?
Apologise, you're talking about the guy Ian French.
Ian French, he took me to Colston Amateurs, and he had me there, and after the season he phoned up Celtic to come and have a look at me, and I played out my skin that day for Colston Amateurs, and after the game the scout said that I was too small and too skinny to play for... he said I was too small. I said I'm taller than Jimmy Johnson, and he went, "Oh." So he couldn't say about my height because Jimmy Johnson, I was taller than him. But anyway...
it's a great point because you had Jimmy Johnson make it, but also more currently you've got which is Liverpool left back. My name's been put off on my phone. But you told he was too small. Celtic, and he's been on to become bloody Champions League winner and Scotland captain.
Brilliant, absolutely. But I was a wee bit upset, but it didn't really worry me because I just enjoyed playing football. But Ian French kept saying to me, and he kept getting me, he got me a trial for Rob Roy, and after the game, I was very naive when I was young, and after the game the guy said, "We'll phone you, don't you phone us." And I was going home, and I was saying, I was working as an apprentice joiner at the time, and I was saying to my mother every day I came home, "Did they phone yet?" I was so naive. He said he would phone me. I was so naive, and then my mother had to sit me down and say, "That's him saying he's not going to phone you." No. I said, "But he said," and I was awful upset about that. Then I got a trial for Kilsyth Rangers. Imagine getting a trial with Kilsyth Rangers. But anyway, I got a trial with them and they signed me, and the rest is history.
No, but it's no history because what happens then? So you play with Kilsyth Rangers.
With Kilsyth Rangers. I had to get a trial with St Mirren. Alec Ferguson was just the manager 4 weeks earlier. I went down and I had an average game down at Love Street, and St Mirren said we'll buy him. They offered Kilsyth Rangers £75, but Kilsyth Rangers wanted £100 for me, and I was getting a £25 sign-on fee, so I said just take the £25 signing-on fee, and that's me signing for St Mirren, and that's how I signed for St Mirren. But I should have, if I was a businessman, I should have said that if you sell me, I get 25%, because I'm giving you 25% of the fee. That's what I should have done, but I never. 2.5 years later, they sell me for £270,000 in the 70s, which was a lot of money. But the main thing, Alec Ferguson signed me for St Mirren, and that was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life.
So they signed you, St Mirren signed you for 75 quid.
And plus I had to give
No, but yeah, so all they paid was 75
no,
quid.
£100. I gave the £25
back to them.
No. Kilsyth Rangers were wanting £100. St Mirren were only prepared to give 75.
So St Mirren paid 100 quid.
I gave £25 my sign-on fee. I wasn't worried about money or anything. I just wanted to play football, and I signed for St Mirren.
So a £100 investment turns into £270,000.
Yes. And all the goals I scored, plus at that time there was nobody coming to St Mirren, and all of a sudden there was crowds of 18,000 people coming in. And just after I signed for Celtic, for St Mirren, a few weeks later I think Alec Ferguson signed Billy Stark, who Rangers just let go for nothing. So he got me and Billy Stark for £100.
Fantastic. Right. And now, I suppose that actually does lead to my next question, because I know it may be difficult, but it's also probably an obvious answer, and that is, who's the best manager you've ever played for, and why?
I loved Billy McNeil. Even at the end, I was very close to him. I loved him. Great manager, but the manager for me is Alec Ferguson, because nobody was in my life telling me about football. I hadn't an agent or anything, or tell me what to do or anything. I had to take everything from Alec Ferguson. And sometimes we had a fallout as well, but I loved him. He had a blue Vauxhall car at the time, and I remember one morning he said something to me, and I gave his car a bad look, and I thought that was very strange for me to do that. That's how much I hated him that day. I gave his car a bad look. You know how awful that was. I look back at that and say, why did you do that? But that's what I done, and but I loved him.
But he actually, you were telling me earlier that he actually gave you some coaching tips as well, because he used to play up front in his career. So he actually, was that the first time that you'd probably taking on board some tips about how to play up front?
Well, the one thing he did do, which was good, he learned me how to use my elbows, which was good. And what I used to do, when I was coming short for a ball, I would elbow a guy's ribs, Tom Forsyth maybe, if I was playing against him, I would elbow his ribs and push him back with that, and then I would get to the ball earlier. But he would be coming in late, and I knew that he would be coming in late, and he gets sent off one day against me, and that was his only sending off his whole life, and it was in his book. He said that little bastard got me sent off. I'm sorry for swearing there, but that's what he says to me.
But Jaws, I think he was called Jaws, wasn't
I
he?
loved playing against him, so I did. I loved playing against him because he was easy for me. He was big, and I was quicker than him, and I could get by him easy. So it was easy for me to play against. And yet there's some other centre-halves not as good as him that I hated playing against. Right. So, you know, it's all swings and roundabouts.
At that St Mirren team at that time, you mentioned Billy Stark. Was Jackie Copeland?
Jackie Copeland was just signed by Alec Ferguson from Dundee United, and Jackie Copeland we had a guy called Bobby Reid. He was the best centre-half I ever played with. But Jackie Copeland had all the experience and everything like that, and that was a great signing. Jackie Copeland was a brilliant signing for St Mirren.
You know, the reason I asked is because as a youngster, I got to go along to some St Mirren training sessions. Unfortunately, not because they were interested in me, because that would have been great. But at the age of 12, my friend at the time, a guy called Billy Davis, was invited by Alec Ferguson to go and train with St Mirren. But coming from Pollock to Paisley, it was felt he was a bit young to travel on his own, and he could bring a mate. So I got to go and take part in the training sessions. And the reason I'm raising that is because my abiding memory, I played sweeper at that time, Frank, and Jackie Copeland took the training sessions, and he was immense. See some of the advice he was given, absolutely immense. And there was another guy there, I think he was a coach at the time, but I think he wanted to become a scout, Davy Provan.
Davy Provan, the ex-Rangers left back.
Yes.
He was assistant master.
He took the sessions, and to be fair, they were very impressed with Billy. Weren't they so impressed with me? But
you might have helped Billy, the 2 years.
Well, if I hadn't been on the bus with him, he might not have been on to become a footballer. So there you go. I suppose that did help him. But Ferguson was always upset that he didn't actually get him to sign, because he ended up signing, unfortunately, with Rangers. But from your point of view, Frank, having played in these games and became a professional footballer, I'm always wondering, is there any players that you've played with that when you were at Celtic you wish they'd signed, or anybody that you've seen that you wish that Celtic had signed?
Well, I spoke to Billy McNeil one day when I just went to Celtic, and I said, you've got to go and get Willie Miller. If we get Willie Miller, that would be good for him to play at the back, because I played against Willie Miller in the 70s with St Mirren. I scored a few goals against Aberdeen at that time, but he was a fantastic sweeper. I would say that he was the best sweeper in Europe at the time,
right.
In the early 80s. And I can back that up with saying they went and won a European trophy. Who would have ever thought that Aberdeen would win a European trophy? And I think they had a good spine. They had the goalkeeper, what's his name again? Jim
Leighton.
Jim Leighton in goals, Willie Miller,
Alec McLeish.
But I'm talking about the spine.
All right, okay.
And they had Gordon Strachan, a brilliant midfield player, Mark McGee, and other good forwards they had up front. So they had Aberdeen.
Who was the winger they always had? Oh, it's left footed.
Peter Weir.
Big Weir, Jesus.
I played with him at St Mirren. He was a brilliant player, but. What Aberdeen had was a spine. They had a great spine, and then all the players all chipped in. So for me, I would have went for Willie Miller if I had.
Do you know, it's a tribute to players, Frank, that as fans, as opposing fans, that you don't like them. I mean, I never liked Gordon Strachan. Not because of anything to do, I didn't know the guy, didn't any personality, just because he was always good against us. And the same with Willie Miller. He was a great sweeper, wasn't he? I mean, fantastic reader of the game, really strong tackler, and a man, a battler. Somebody you wanted in the trenches with you, wasn't he?
So he started off his life as a centre forward.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
So he started his life off as a centre forward and moved back to sweeper. I thought that was very clever, but he would then know what centre forwards do.
Right.
So he can then look at what they're doing and cover. He was a great sweeper. And I could tell you all the things we used to do against each other. It would take a long time. But I was very pleased. I gave 100%. I always gave 100%. But against Aberdeen, I had to think more and had to get in behind them. And I loved doing that. And it's a big story. But
so what did Billy say then? You've said to him you should go and sign Willie Miller, and did he give you? He did try to sign him, right? Well, that's fantastic. There you go, Celtic fans. Willie Miller could have been in the hoops, and I think he would have been a great player. I've got to say that. But there you go. Not everybody will agree, because quite a few fans like to shout at Willie Miller. But I wonder if Willie ever regrets no signing for Celtic.
Yeah, well, he went to Aberdeen and he won a European trophy, became one of probably the best player that's ever played at Aberdeen. He stayed up at Aberdeen, had a brilliant life, so I think he's made a great decision.
Okay. Brilliant. Listen, boys and girls, we've reached the end of episode 9 of the podcast. I want to ask you the question, Frank, but we're going to leave it at the next podcast because apparently, you've spoke very highly about Fergie, about Alex Ferguson, but apparently he fell out with you when he was trying to sign you for Aberdeen when you left Liverpool. But I think it's a big story, and I don't want you to go into it right now because we've taken up all of our time talking about the early days. We're going to have more for the legend that is Frank McGarvey in the next episode. So thanks for tuning in, guys and gals. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you've liked what you've watched, why not share it to your friends and other Celtic supporting groups, and share all the other podcasts as well. We're not in competition with anybody. I want to take a wee moment just to congratulate a Celtic State of Mind that have just won the awards for the best podcast. Well done to everybody, Paul Dykes and everybody involved. And well done to everybody else that does their podcasts as well, and all the other Celtic websites. I'm wearing one for the Celtic 67. You're wearing a replica jersey.
A piece of history.
We're all one of the same family. We shouldn't be competing with each other. Let's share all of the Celtic minded material and all of the information as well, and let's keep it going. So Frank, thanks for today's episode. See you next time. Let's see a victory against the Hibs tomorrow night. Hail, hail.